Right, so I've got a tweet here from Billy T. The media love Thomas Frank at Spurs because he has lowered the standard so much at Tottenham that it fits their natural inclination to shit on us and look down at us. What's your thoughts?
Well, I know Billy T. I think he's been a bit harsh there. I don't think Thomas Frank has lowered our levels. We are at that level. Sorry, Spurs fans, anyone watching this is an uncomfortable truth.
Do you think there is a media bias towards Spurs?
It's funny that because I have no perception of that whatsoever as a City fan up in Manchester. Like maybe I'm not sure if it's a London thing, but I didn't even know the media loved to dunk on Spurs. I didn't know that was a thing. I mean, I'm not sure. Is that a conscious feeling as a Spurs fan?
I think you do get do you know what is funny? Because obviously I think Spurs fans in their own group chats and in their own community have the kind of Dr. Tottenham will see you now type statements or memes where it's like you'll see a quote and it'll be like, Burnley haven't won a game in 350 years, and then it'll be Dr. Tottenham will see you now. But and even Sky Sports, if you saw the headline, use Dr. Tottenham.
But don't you think we are
now?
The way the club has been run, we are a meme now. Sorry, I know there's going to be loads of Spurs fans. And obviously you're a Spurs fan as well.
No, I agree.
There'll be loads of Spurs fans watching this going, he's not a real Spurs fan. The standards have been lowered at this club for so many years now that we are very easy to pick on. We are a meme. We are constant. Everything we do is wrong.
There's a reason why. We're called Spursian moments and all sorts.
Everyone knows that.
It's been run terribly.
And I think last season where did you finish last season? 16th was it?
17th.
And you won your first European trophy, and God knows, it's ridiculous. The whole thing is absurd, and I think if you do absurd things, people pay absurd attention to you, and I think fundamentally that's probably what causes it. I think if it was anyone else, I think the media would pick up on them too. But Spurs, I think, to quote Radiohead, they do it to themselves, and that's what really hurts.
Also, you've got West Ham fans, Chelsea fans, Arsenal fans, Palace fans. We are very much mocked. As you're saying, up north, it's not such a big thing, but within the London community, we're a bit of a laughing stock. We laugh at West Ham. We are run as badly as West Ham. So I get why we're mocked. Biggest shambles I've seen for 3 decades. There you go.
Do you think Thomas Frank is safe?
No.
I'm surprised. I'll be real. I'm very surprised he didn't go after the West Ham game. And then I thought, you know what, maybe it was because it was too close of a turnaround between the West Ham fixture and the Dortmund game. Then he got the Dortmund game correct, I think.
Yeah.
I do think the midfield he got was correct. We played well against Dortmund for periods of that game. I do think it was a bit of a disappointing second half. But then again, I also think it was just shut up shop. We're actually going to win a game here. Let's not drop points. And then it's Burnley, and I think everyone could see that we were going to drop points against Burnley again. So it's when is the time for him to leave? Is it after Frankfurt?
In my humble opinion, I think the reason why Thomas Frank has not gone is because we're such a badly run club that there's no plan. And the problem is, if Spurs were a really well-oiled team with directors of football who knew about football, owners that were football people, all our owners are accountants. They're all accountants and finance people. Because there's no plan, because there's no strategy, they've got nowhere to go if Thomas Frank leaves. It's not saying Thomas Frank shouldn't go, but this has been my saying lately. Right? Thomas Frank is a problem. He is not the problem. He's been there 6 months. The big problem that this club have been there 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. The whole thing is a shambles. Tottenham are a mess. And Thomas Frank will go. He will go. We all know he's going to go. And I feel sorry for the next victim that comes into Tottenham Hotspur. That's where I'm at as a Spurs fan.
Yeah, I've said this on the podcast before. I do think that it doesn't matter what manager you get in. When the squad's the same and when the way the club has been ran the same, nothing's going to change. There's a reason why Mourinho failed. There's a reason why Conte failed. There's a reason why every manager that's come in the last 10 years or so has failed. I mean, even Andrew Postecoglou, who got us over the line and got us our first trophy, finished 17th in the league that same season. I do agree.
I genuinely mean this because I know as being a Manchester, I know what's wrong with the for example, the Glazers at United, because obviously there was a lack of investment in terms of literal facilities. The place was a rotting mess, and there was this culture and so on. What is the actual issue at Spurs then with the owners then? Because are they hands-on? You know, are they?
It's lack of investment within the squad.
Okay, so it's entirely down to transfers, basically. Well, they do.
Well, we spend a lot of money, but we don't buy properly. So if you look, for example, right now at the time of filming this, there's 6 days of a transfer window to go. Every Spurs fan, bar none, doesn't matter if we all like each other or not, bar none will tell you Spurs need strikers and wingers.
It's poor football.
What have we not done in this window? Strikers and wing. In the summer, you've got to have a left winger to replace Son. What do we not do? Left.
Yeah.
We're constantly doing it. We're spending big money, but we never actually spend it properly. And as I said, sack Frank, bring in whoever you want next until they get... I think we need a Ralph Rangnick type at the top. A director of football, proper.
Well, talking about a club that does invest in their squad and also about a managerial change, Stephen, what was your tweet?
My tweet was from Anfield Road 96, says, we need to wrap up Xabi Alonso, is a Liverpool fan, before Pep Guardiola leaves Man City. So I presume that fan is presuming Slot won't last very long and that Pep Guardiola might leave City. And Pep, of course, has got a contract until 2027. I think that implies a couple of things, that they think Pep might leave earlier than his contract, 2026.
Do you think he will?
No, I don't think he will do. Even if this season's a bit of a disappointment, I think in the end he will complete his contract. He seems to be a man of his word on that front, and he always says, I will complete my contract. He says it every single week in the press conference, which I would then suggest means Xabi Alonso won't be Manchester City manager, because I don't think he's going to wait a year and a half. I think he'll be in a job by the summer. You presume he'd get longer than a season, whatever club he's going to. I don't know about, Xabi Alonso, where does he end up next? But surely he's not going to wait a year and a half.
Yeah, and a lot of fans, I think there's a mixed opinion. I don't think it'll be the case of what happens at Man United when Sir Alex Ferguson left, where they went from a top six club to a club that now don't finish in the top six. And again, both Spurs and Man United struggle to get into that. So on that point of top six, Savva, what was your tweet?
Yeah, so this was from a City fan at City Outis. Or Otis. However, that's read. It says, this is the actual big six in the league. None of that Spurs BS. And it's a picture of the top six now of Arsenal, City, Villa, United, Chelsea, Liverpool. And if I can just kick off from that, as a Spurs fan, I will say, are Spurs big six? Infrastructure? Yes. Stadium? Yes.
Yeah.
Training ground? Yes. Finances, yes. History, yes. Notice the one thing I've not talked about there. On the pitch, we are absolutely not top six. And I just want to read one stat to you, if that's all right. I told you boys this off air, but in the last 3 years, since Antonio Conte's famous rant, we all saw it. He lost his mind, whether you agreed with it or not. Since that rant has been 35 months, so just 1 month shy of 3 years. And in that time, Spurs have accumulated less points than Brighton, Bournemouth, Brentford, Palace and Fulham. So when people talk about Spurs being a big six club, as we have gone like that, those smaller clubs that are really well run have gone like that. And what's happened is we've met in the middle, and now we're at a point where are we... And that's, as a Spurs fan, how much of a worry is that stat?
Well, it's for me when people say, what's happened with Spurs? Have we kind of fallen behind, or we can't compete with the likes of the Arsenals, the Man Cities that spend X amount of money? I'm like, no, I don't think it is a case of us not spending that volume, because, that would be necessarily not being able to keep up. But it's not keeping up, it's we're falling behind. And that's because when... For example, the 2019 Champions League final under Poch, that was the time to back the squad. We've not backed it, but not only have we not backed it and done what Arsenal have done, where they were close to winning something and then they went for Declan Rice. And then they were even closer and they went for Zubamendi and other players like that. We've lost the two people that were papering over the cracks for us in Harry Kane and Heung-min Son, that were papering over the cracks of losing the Erikssons, the Dembeles, the Wanyamas, the Tobys, the Yans, all of that type of stuff. And now we've lost those two that were our kind of goal threat. Now we're seeing where the Tottenham squad is at. And it's disappointing to see that.
Do you know, sorry, just really quickly, the funny thing, that on the Kane and Son thing, this is, for years, Spurs fans, obviously City fans, but Spurs fans for years asked the question, what will we be when Son and Kane aren't here? And in that season under Conte, when we finished top four, Son and Kane got 73 GA between them in the year, right? 73. We're now seeing this is the first year where neither of them are playing, and you are now seeing the answer to your question is this is a very poor squad with no one to paper over the cracks. We can't play badly against Burnley and go, don't worry, Son will score a solo. We haven't got that now. So we are now down there with the Forests and the Palaces and the West. I'm not knocking those clubs, but we should, with our infrastructure and our finances, we should be there, but we're not. We're there with them.
To give some validity to that tweet, like you guys will know more than me, but how many title races have Spurs actually been in the Premier League era?
Arguably two.
I mean, well, the point I'm making there is it any different to? Is it any different to what Newcastle have done over? Because Newcastle have been back into the Shearer days. They were up there for a couple of years. Is it any different to what Villa are doing right now? The point I'm making there is, does that tweet have some validity? Like, have really Spurs done a lot to? I mean, they were around Champions League for a while, but it wasn't like they've been there for 30 years.
We finished. I think the point with this to back Spurs a bit before everyone thinks I'm not a Spurs fan. I think we've been where those teams have been up and down in the Premier League era. Spurs have. I believe I saw the stats something like the last 22 years. 19 of them we finished in Europe. I think 7 of those or 6 of those were Champions League, and that's the frustrating thing. The revenue's there. We're set. We haven't had to set, like, everything's good that we should be there. And unfortunately, the game-changing stadium has changed us for the worse.
Now, talking about two clubs that obviously last season had horrific seasons, and it looks like, again, Spurs are going to have a very, very similar season to what we had last season, but maybe again with no silverware this season, unless we magically win the Champions League. Who knows? Yes, guys, hope you're enjoying the show. And whilst I've got you, make sure to check out our sponsors, Bet442, and their sign-up options on the screen and in the description. T's and C's apply. 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly. Manchester United. Now, there's a massive headline here. Gary Neville blown away by the transformation under Michael Carrick. Now, I remind, yes, it has been against two very tough opponents in Manchester City and in Arsenal, but it is 2 games too early to decide if there's been a proper transformation in Man United 100%. Or if it is just the new manager bounce back syndrome.
This isn't even like me as a City fan saying this, but United under most of the managers got some joy against City. They genuinely did. Solskjaer had our beating constantly, and Arsenal have had a reasonably iffy time against United as well. They tend to drop some points against them. That's not to say it isn't impressive. It is, but it's 2 games. Like, the new manager bounce is a thing. Like, let's see where they're at when the excitement's worn down in 3 or 4 weeks from now. He's done fantastically, and they were absolutely the better side against City, and they deserved the 3 points against us. We were diabolical. United were great. But there's this like sort of giddiness, and like, it shows to me like a lot of these, the pundits and so on, great footballers, but they're just fans ultimately. Because no one, put it this way, if they were saying this about a Spurs manager, would you never be saying the Spurs are back? No, he's saying it because he's a United fan, because he wants to say it, because he wants to believe it, and that's absolutely fine. But this idea that United are suddenly back because they've won 2 games is as stupid as saying Fulham would be title contenders if they won 2 games against City and Arsenal. There's nothing to prove that other than just hope, basically, right now. And that's not bitterness, I promise you, it's just common sense.
Yeah, I feel like, look, we know football punditry is very knee-jerk. Steve's absolutely right. If in 7 games' time we're going, God, United have won 9 on the spin, then you go, wow. The 2 teams he's beaten obviously elevates the knee-jerkness, if that's a word. But let's be brutally honest, the new manager bounce does happen. And this is why false dawns happen, because Man United, if they lose their next game, I think I don't know who it is.
Is it Fulham, I think?
I don't know, Man. You've got someone in production will shout it out to us in a minute or so. But Man United, if they lose the next game, suddenly it's gone from Carrick. Yeah, he could only get them up for the big games. Also, I watched both games. I thought Man U were very good, but people are talking about look at the way he got them playing. I thought in both games, Man United were very good in the transition. It wasn't... And
one of the best players in that was Dorgu. He's out for 10 weeks.
Yeah. Well, Dorgu's out for 10 weeks, but also the difference is, and Spurs fans at the moment, by the way, saying, well, what if Carrick had done that with Spurs? Difference is at Man United, he's got Cunha and Mbeumo and Bruno that get them out of those problems. We haven't got those players in our team. So, look, I think he's done really well. Love Michael Carrick, one of the most underrated players I've ever seen in the Premier League. Hope he does well, but 2 defeats... we'll be having a very different conversation.
Well, to quote Gary Neville as well, he said at the start of the appointment, there is under no circumstance that there should be a world where Carrick is the permanent manager next season for the interest of Michael Carrick and for the interest of the club. However,
that's nonsense.
If this form does continue and Michael Carrick gets Manchester United into a Champions League finishing position, which again, this season could be top 5 in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Does he keep his job, or do they still need to find a new manager?
Roy Keane said if he wins every game for the remaining season, he still shouldn't be manager, which is just stupidity. Like, if you won 19 games in a row, we win the league. Of course, he should be manager at that point. And yeah, I think, look, bear in mind, the greatest ever manager I've ever seen is Pep Guardiola. In his debut season, he won a lot with Barcelona, you know. And I don't know how good Carrick's going to be, and I have no interest in defending United. It's making me feel dirty doing this. But obviously, if Carrick gets him into the Champions League and proves he can play good football and wins, I don't know, 10 out of the next 15 games while only losing 2, absolutely should be given more chance. Why not? Like, I don't agree with this idea there's no circumstances, because that's objectively nonsense. Of course there are circumstances where he could do well, you know.
Doesn't it depend what United want to be? So if we go back to your opening comment about Neville saying, you know, United are back, right? Well, now if it depends. If we're
back every other week,
but if we're going to talk about back, that means you are a big club on a big pedestal challenging for big things. If that's the case, it doesn't matter how well Carrick does. Does that mean he is the guy that can continue that and put them back to winning titles? Say they take Carrick at the beginning of the summer and then somebody becomes available, a top class manager becomes available. Will Man United then go, oh, we should have waited and got this top manager? I think it all depends what you want to be. We've seen it with Chelsea. They took Maresca, right, from the Championship essentially, right? 18 months later, they want him out, right? They've now gone and got Liam Rosignol from France. What are they going to do? He's doing well at the moment. As soon as he has a bad spell, he's not big enough for this football club. Spurs fans doing it. Frank was brilliant at Brentford, not big enough for Spurs. So when you're winning games, I think it's okay. As soon as you have a bad spell, is Carrick experienced enough to guide them out of... I don't know the answer, but that for me doesn't scream that United are back, a guy that got sacked from Middlesbrough.
Now, talking on the point of other managers, and it's one point that I've been looking forward to. Arsenal slipping up. Last weekend, I was there at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium after an awful display by us, thinking, brilliant, Manchester City have just slipped up again against Manchester United. It's going to be 9 points. Arsenal are going to be 9 points ahead with a win at Nottingham Forest. And now it's just 4 points. So are Arsenal starting to feel the pressure with 15 games to go and a fixture against Manchester City at the Etihad still to play?
That's the key fixture. I said this months ago. The key fixture in this season is Man City versus Arsenal at the Etihad. Now, it's too early to say, are they bottling it? I don't really like that word, but it's too early to say, are they bottling it? But football changes very quickly. All it needs is one tricky away game at a Fulham or a Palace. It's one of those sort of teams where they drop points. My concern with this is that your team, there's moments this season where you go, wow, look at City. And then they have 2 games where you draw and you go, come on, City. So listen, this is my only bit of joy this year will be, and this is how bad we are.
Isn't it?
This is how bad we are. My only bit of joy will come from, listen, if in a perfect world, Aston Villa win it, right? And it's neither.
Not about that. I think this is the year. I think the first 2 seasons when Arsenal, saying they bottled it, they were up against the City side that went on to win 4 leagues in a row. I don't think that was fair.
I don't think they
City
did bottle it in the last 2 years.
Last season, I would say they did. Liverpool standards weren't even that great. I think they should have been much better. They beat us 5-1 and run to it. This season, if they don't do it, it's an absolute... It's not a bottling. It's a waterfall of a bottling. It's an absolute embarrassment if they don't win the league this year, because City are all over the place. We are clearly a club under mass transition right now. We've lost about 13 players who've won the treble over the past 2.5 years. So it's an awful lot of players. It's fine. It's part of the churn. When you win 4 leagues in a row, you just have to mix it up because all the players are over 30. But the point is, City can one day look brilliant when everyone's fit, and the next day we've had too many injuries and we look a little bit like a side who has had 10, 15 changes to the squad. The thing is, if it gets to that April game at the Etihad Stadium, City within a few points still, City win the league if they win that game. Absolutely. There is no way Arsenal will be able to recover from getting beaten by City and then either going level or behind on points. I just can't see them recovering from that. So I think they are showing signs right now, and I think the football's getting more turgid. They are leaning in on set pieces an awful lot. They're not creating anything, and that's not me as a City fan saying that. It's just statistically true. The XG, if you want to go on that, is really low from open play, and it looks a little bit nervy, the football.
Now, a question to you that we asked Troops the other week. If Arsenal, now think about this in a world where they've been building, they've spent God knows how much since Arteta's reign at the club. This year they were tipped at one point that they could potentially win the treble. They're in the League Cup final. People are saying, I don't know what club necessarily in the Champions League will beat them over two legs, especially when they look so good in Europe, and obviously favourites for the Premier League. If Arsenal don't win a single trophy this year or only win the League Cup, should Arteta be gone?
Yeah.
I don't think they will do, but I think there'll be an absurd amount of pressure on him.
With the style of football they're playing, a lot of Arsenal fans are saying they're boring to watch, and as you said, rely on set pieces. No major silverware since Arteta's reign of. Obviously, he won the FA Cup when he first came in, but that wasn't really.
I think how it'll go is if they finish second, then it's frustrating, and all the Arsenal fans are furious. If Arteta goes, it'll be a few months into the season after, because I think the fifth season challenging. I think they'll just struggle at that point. I think there'll be a lot of inconsistency, and by about November, they might be like fifth, and there'll be frustration. I think that's how it'll probably end up unravelling for Arteta. I don't think they get rid of him at the end of this season unless they somehow finish third or fourth, but I don't see that. How
many times mentally with the same squad, because they do spend a lot of money, how many times mentally with the same squad can you realistically go again?
Well, I think something Steve said there was really important. Was last year was the more telling year for me than anything, because the years before they were up against a top man City side. Last year was the year where City fell off a cliff. Yeah, Liverpool weren't even that impressive.
They were all right.
You're like, right, Arsenal, you're the team, and they didn't. This year, at the highest point was it an 8-point gap, a 9-point gap, whatever they had, and you're going, as Spurs fans, we're going, oh, they've won it. This is terrible. They've won it. If they don't win it this year, I think the noise around the club will be such, from being so far ahead and tipped to win it. I think he'll have to go, because it will be slightly like, when Poch was at Spurs and we were doing well every year, but obviously without the £1 billion backing. Yeah. And you're like, okay, but he can't quite get over the line. Arteta will show, if he can't get over the line, that they need to bring in a winner.
Their biggest issue is the reliance on set pieces. Ultimately, the issue with that is not that it doesn't work, is you're essentially leaning on centre-backs there to score goals, and that's not their job, ultimately. It's a bonus that they do, but that should be in addition. For example, John Terry scored regularly, William Gallas scored regularly for Chelsea years ago. That was in addition to Didier Drogba and Ida Johnson and Robin and people like that. And the thing is, if you're leaning on your centre-backs to score, they can't rely on them to score in a quarter-final, a semi-final, or 3 or 4 games in the running. It's not reasonable, because they're not high volume goal scorers. And I think the issue you've got there is when you rely on that, essentially it means you're not relying on your forwards. And if you're not relying on your forwards, these are the guys who are meant to have the killer instinct to win games in the big moments. It means you're lacking.
They showed the other day just how little they have actually created for Gyökeres this season. He's getting a lot of stick, and fair enough, I don't care, they're Arsenal, but you guys create for Haaland. Like, you create. He has chance after chance. When you watch Arsenal, I don't actually see anyone create for the striker. But if they win the league, playing this way, they will be justified in what they've done. If they don't,
okay. Quick prediction to end on: Tottenham versus Man City on the weekend. What's our quick prediction?
We have won the last couple of times away there. I usually hate playing Spurs. I'm going to say, I think we'll win this one. I think we have to. 2-1.
2-1 Man City?
I think 3-1 Man City.
That's what you wanted to
I know that we're their bogey team, but at the moment, I can't see who scores. It's going to be poisonous at the stadium. There's a protest. If we win, it'll be the greatest win ever.
Okay, guys, there you go. Let us know, are Man United back? If Arsenal fail to win a trophy this year, should Arteta be sacked? And let us know your score prediction for this weekend's game of Spurs versus Manchester City. Don't forget to check out our sponsors, Bet442. There's a link in the description below and a QR code for you on the screen now.